The Arch Manning hype continues to grow. The question is it fair? Is it valid? We'll discuss next here on Four Verts. I'm Harrison Graham. Paul Finebaum caught the attention of several this week, including myself, when he had some pretty bold things to say about the next quarterback for the University of Texas, Arch Manning. Here's what he said a few days ago. I think it was yesterday on Get Up, or it might have been the day before. He said, quote, Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006. This is such an asinine comment. I don't even know where to start. What evidence do we have to support this? Number one. Also, and we'll get to this part of it in a little bit, that is so disrespectful to the last 2 decades of college football and to the last 20 years of incredible quarterbacks we've seen come through this sport that we all love, or at least that I love. Best since Tebow in 2006. This is the Arch Manning resume up to this point. Yes, he was the number 1 overall recruit. Yes, his last name is Manning, so that's going to come with a lot of hype. That's all it is right now. He has made 2 starts. In one of those starts, he threw multiple interceptions. He's appeared in 12 games, but as a very seldom used player, either garbage time or as a runner. Yeah, we've seen some upside in limited action. The 2 starts, I believe, were against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State last year. He hasn't even thrown 100 passes in college. He's 63 of 95, which adds up to 66% completion, less than 1,000 passing yards in 12 games he's appeared in. 9 touchdowns, 2 picks. You've seen the mobility flash both as a runner and to be able to throw on the move. I like the talent. I like the upside. I understand some of the hype. But when a guy like Paul Finebaum, who's been covering college football for decades, the SEC for decades, comes out and says he is the best quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow, we haven't seen him hardly at all. How could you possibly say that he's the best quarterback since Tebow, who's, I don't know, a top 7 quarterback in college football history, top 10, certainly post-2000, one of the best. You know, you could debate Vince Young, Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, and a few others, but what are we even talking about? Like, we haven't even seen him. We've barely seen him play. Steve Sarkisian didn't bench Quinn Ewers late in the season for Arch, even when Quinn was just playing okay. The one time he tried to, in the middle of the year against Georgia to create a spark, Arch didn't do anything either, so he went back to Quinn. And again, I like Arch. This is probably coming off as I don't. I think he's going to be really good, and I have no problem with saying, yeah, he's got, put him on your preseason Heisman list. Like, that's all valid, but the best quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow. And also, and this is semantics, but he says, we have seen. Who's this we? Because that would suggest that there's some collective agreement on this. A, he's barely played, and B, I think he is speaking for himself when he says that. It'd be one thing if Arch started all of last year or took over middle of the year and led Texas to a national championship, be like, and played awesome, be like, yeah, I mean, this guy's incredible, dual threat, really could do it all. It'd be like after Johnny Manziel won the Heisman and came back for another, it'd be like, this is one of the best quarterbacks I've seen since Vince Young, like 10 years ago. So I think it's unbelievable for a guy of his stature, Paul Finebaum's, to make this statement. And I get he's an SEC homer and a blowhard and so on and so forth. Best quarterback since Tebow? Guys started 2 games. I mean, it's remarkable to see. Will Arch Manning live up to the hype? Type Y for yes, type in for no. If the standard is he's got to be as good as Tim Tebow, I'd probably bet against that. That means he's one of the 8 to 10 best college quarterbacks ever. Like, and that gets me to this point. Like, it's almost becoming unfair, right? Now, I'm not going to feel bad for Arch. He's making millions of dollars. He grew up in a very stable situation. He's got resources that none of us will ever have. I don't feel bad for him, but I do think the expectations are getting ridiculous. Like, they were already going to come, considering he is the son of Cooper Manning and the nephew of Eli and Peyton Manning and the grandson of Archie Manning. And his last name is Manning, which was probably a big reason why he was the number 1 overall recruit. Not saying he wasn't worthy of being a big recruit, but you get my point. Like, the hype was going to be there regardless. But we're losing the plot a little bit here. It's gotten a little out of control when one of the prominent college football analysts, hosts, someone who covers the sport and has for a long time, comes out and say, yeah, he's basically the best quarterback we've seen in this sport in 20 years. Like, that would be like, I don't know, Cam Ward has a good first month this year in the NFL. He's the best quarterback we've seen since Tom Brady's a little extreme, as my producer said, but like some Hall of Famer from 20 years ago. It's like, he's played a month. Like, can we give it a little bit more time? And I get it, NFL, college, it's a little different, but my point remains. Like, let's just see. I mean, here's just a few quarterbacks of the last 20 years post Tim Tebow. I don't know. How about some guy named Cam Newton? One of the greatest individual seasons we've ever seen. Johnny Manziel won a Heisman and then put up similar numbers as next year. Colt McCoy at the University of Texas, who held the single-season passing completion percentage record for a very, very long time. Sam Bradford, he was pretty good. Joe Burrow threw 60 touchdowns in a season. Not as good as Arch Manning, though. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Robert Griffin III, he was pretty damn good. Lamar Jackson, he won a Heisman. Caleb Williams won a Heisman. Baker Mayfield won a Heisman. Deshaun Watson, I think, was a multi-time Heisman finalist, won a national championship. Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Justin Fields, Andrew Luck, C.J. Stroud, Mahomes, Hendon Hooker, even guys like Trevon Boykin and Graham Harrell. Like, we have been on an incredible run of collegiate quarterbacks. And Paul Finebaum says this guy is the best since Tim Tebow. He hasn't fucking played. Hardly at all. Like, Finebaum should be embarrassed. He really should. I mean, it's such an outlandish take. It's unfair to Arch. It's unrealistic. It's just not true, given how little he's played. If Arch Manning wins the Heisman this year, you still probably couldn't make that claim. Tim Tebow was a 3-year starter, played for 4 years, and was a multi-time Heisman finalist, 2-time national champion, and one Heisman, I think. And this guy, 2 starts into his career, he's as good as Tebow. Like, he can't even make that claim a year from now if Arch wins a natty and a Heisman, just from a resume standpoint. Maybe the eye test would tell something different. And by the way, there's actually been better eye test quarterbacks than Tim Tebow. So that's not even like the best example to use. But so naturally, Finebaum took a lot of internet heat, kind of like I'm giving him now. And he said, this is just weird. He goes, I rest my case. I'm not backing down. I feel like the battered New York Democratic candidate for mayor, who everyone has attacked. I don't want anything to do with him, by the way. I'm just making a point that I have been unfairly attacked by the entire country. First of all, making a political comparison of being attacked is ridiculous. Like, let's leave that alone. Number one, and second of all, that's just like what, mean tweets online. Guess what, Paul? You've been doing this for decades, and you said something really, really stupid. Really, really stupid. I bet the Mannings saw that and was like, this is ridiculous. Like, Arch has to go out and prove it. And by the way, if I'm betting on it, I think Arch is going to be really good. He's 6'2", 6'3", 210, 220 pounds. He can move. I don't think he has a rocket arm, but I think he has a good arm. I think it's a better arm than his dad and uncle had. And we saw the upside. And he's with Steve Sarkisian and a lot of talent. Like, I'm believing in this operation that they got going on in Austin. I think it's going to work. But do we have to say he's up there with Tebow already? He has not played. I know I've used that phrase much. He has not played. And true, Harrison, we saw him last year. Okay, he started 2 games against the worst team in the SEC and against Louisiana Monroe. That's not playing. That's like preseason NFL football. That's like saying, Cam Ward's a MVP candidate if he lights it up in the preseason. It's 2 completely different sports. When you're playing Louisiana Monroe and then you play Georgia 2 weeks later, like, it's not even the same sport. So I'm a believer in Arch. I think he's going to be good. But if you're asking me, hey, best quarterback in the country this year, Arch or the field, I would take the field without even hesitating because he's hardly played, and that's just probability. But, yeah, Paul Finebaum, he's best thing since Tebow. Oh, okay, Paul. We'll see. Let's let the kid prove it first. All right, if you want more college football videos, be sure to subscribe to us here at Verts. We would greatly appreciate it. You know, we're into July now, which means college football gets going next month. Fall camp's just around the corner. So if you want to have us work in some college football content, we can do that for you guys. So let us know and prove it by subscribing. Okay, Cam Newton, who, by the way, awesome quarterback in the last 2 decades. He chimed in on this, and I thought he made a really good point. He kind of sees a similar path for Arch that he went through himself. If you don't remember this, Cam Newton was at Florida when Tebow was the starter, got in some trouble, ended up transferring, but that's neither here nor there. And he said this on his podcast. He said, "I've always felt like I was more talented than Tim Tebow, but I needed Tim Tebow to show me what I lacked. Tim Tebow is an unbelievable leader, verbally and by action. Arch Manning would be a fool if he has not learned anything from Quinn Ewers, how he prepared, how he led the team, and just how he handled and managed the expectations for being a quarterback at the University of Texas." I think there's a lot of truth in what he's saying there. Yeah, Cam Newton was more talented than Tebow, more natural thrower, an even better runner and more physical running specimen than Tim Tebow, who was obviously an excellent runner in college. I think the same is true with Arch. You know, Quinn, some of it was injuries, so the mobility, it started to go away a little bit. You know, I think the collarbone hurt his arm strength a little bit as well. Quinn has a big arm, but I think Arch has a good arm as well, and he's a definitely better athlete. I do think there are more tools there, and he's bulked up. I think he's a little bigger than Quinn as well. But I also think, listen, they were in the playoff last year. If Sark thought there is no doubt that Arch gives us a better chance to win, you don't think he would have made that move? That's another thing Finebaum said. I left that off the quote. He said, if he would have done what Nick Saban did and put Arch in for Quinn like he did Tua for Jalen Hurts, they would have not only beaten Ohio State, they would have won the national championship. A, there's no way of knowing that. And B, he tried that against Georgia in the regular season, and it didn't work. Like, I think Sark knows his team better. And also, I don't think he wanted to put Arch in that situation. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I think sometimes we're in this hot take climate now. And listen, I give hot takes sometimes, but you will never hear me come on this show and compare a player who has very little experience, NFL, college, whatever, and compare him to one of the greatest in the sport before we see them play an extended amount of time. Because that is just ludicrous. Now, you could say like a player comp, like his play style is like Patrick Mahomes or whatever. We see that all the time, and that's fine. But that's like stylistic play. That's not, he's already this. Arch is not that accomplished. That is the bottom line. So we will see if he gets there. I think he probably will be very good, but Tim Tebow, that if he has a better college career than Tim Tebow, it's going to be a hell of a couple of years, I'll tell you that. Will Arch Manning live up to the hype? I'll ask you again. Type Y for yes, type in for no. Feels almost impossible at this point, considering what some of these people are saying, but let us know what you guys think. Appreciate you guys. Kind of got a little long-winded there, but hopefully the passion came through. My name is Harrison Graham. More content to come, NFL, college football every single day. Hit that subscribe button.